Well, hello and welcome to the Church Office podcast. My name is Gavin Smith, and it's a joy today to welcome you to our Admin and Ops podcast. We love talking about the work of ministry behind the scenes. So whether you're involved in administration, ops, whether you're a pastor, we get a whole bunch of people listening to the podcast. So welcome, and looking forward to chatting to Andy and Dan, our guests on today from Joyned. Nice to see you, lads. Thanks for coming.
No problem. Thanks for having us.
It's great. Andy, let's start with you. Tell our listeners a little bit about you and what you're involved in.
So I'm based on the south coast, just outside of Brighton. I go to Emmanuel, used to be CCK, New Frontiers Church down here. I kind of volunteer on a Sunday, that kind of thing. But my day-to-day work, I founded 15 years or so ago a company called Brightech, and we build mobile apps for, I guess, like enterprise clients. So that's what I've done for the last 15 years, and then the last year or so, been involved in this project called Joyned.
Wow. Brilliant. What about you, Dan? You're in the sunny part of the world.
Yeah, that's right. So I'm suffering here down in Cape Town. So for my sins, but no, I grew up for a large part of my early years in Brighton, on the south coast of England, and then I moved over here about 20 years ago now. Seems doesn't seem that long ago, but I guess the color of my beard being grey tells a truer story. But yeah, so I worked with I've known Andy for years, but I worked with him for the last three years at Brightech, and then the last year or so I came across with him to work on Joyned.
Brilliant. Great. Well, it's great to have you on here. And let me just give a quick shout out to our sponsors at Church Suite, Gavin and the guys at Church Suite. Thank you so much for sponsoring the podcast, for encouraging us, for working with us at the church office. We really appreciate it. If you've not come across this software before, this is a useful bit of tech that will help you with your databases, your communications, your rotas, all your stuff. As we get into it, we'll know that Joyned, our topic today, these guys are integrated with them. So they're working with a whole bunch of people behind the scenes to make your life easier as administrator, pastor, or church manager. So this is a worthwhile piece of software. Check it out at churchsuite.com. You guys are integrated with them and working with them. They're a good bunch, aren't they? The guys at Church Suite.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we don't know them personally yet. We'd love to get to know them, but yeah, we work with loads of churches that are using Church Suite. It's a fantastic tool. We use it here in Brighton. So yeah, they're good guys.
It's great to have them partnering with us. So thank you, Gav, and those guys. So Joyned, this is our topic today. We want to find out about your product and how you can be a blessing to churches. Andy, fill us in on what is Joyned. Tell us about that.
It's a good question. So let me give you the elevator pitch, but then I thought I'd actually sort of step back and maybe talk about our kind of purpose and our vision.
I like that.
But the elevator pitch is, we would say that we're a safe, compliant WhatsApp alternative built for churches. So loads of churches are using WhatsApp. It's a great tool. I love it. I use it all the time for my family. But the question is whether it's appropriate for churches, and we can kind of get into that. So Joyned is an alternative to that for various reasons. So that's the easiest way to describe it. But actually, if we step right back, our purpose, our mission as a company, we really want to help churches, but actually it goes beyond churches, other organizations, whether it's education or commercial, grow a culture of community. So we spoke about Brightech. It's the company that I founded, and actually we've really worked hard to build a really strong team culture in that company. And so culture has always been really a part of our DNA, part of something that's really important to me. And so we can talk about the history of Joyned and how we've got involved, but as we've sought to build a company, we were like, actually, we really want to help churches build a culture of community. And that's important to us. And something that Dan and I are really passionate about.
That's great. And tech is so useful in doing that, isn't it?
Mm.
Dan, have you got more about the history? You guys have worked together for 15 years. That's a fairly decent amount of time. I love that. What do you do on the company with Joyned? What do you and your history?
My history, so my history is in software engineering. So
Yeah.
I'm a software engineer by trade. But through that, I've owned my own companies. They're in digital publishing and communicating for large brands throughout the world. And that since coming along with Joyned, also I'm a deacon at my church
Okay.
over here in Cape Town, where we really know the value of good communication. We've seen, I think, many churches see the problems where a message isn't put across correctly, and where people don't understand things. It just leads to so much confusion and issues. And I think that with the history of Joyned, so it started off. There's one of our founders, Sam. He started off. He was a member of the worship team at a large church in London, at Hillsong.
Yeah.
And he just saw just a real opportunity in regards to something that can help build grow communication and grow community within the teams that he was part of. And with that, he's a serial entrepreneur. He's built large digital businesses in the past, and been really successful in that. So he saw this problem and decided, okay, cool, I'm gonna try and solve it. So he created this app. At the time, I think it was called Community Loop. It had another name before that, but it did a change. And then he created this app, and it really served that team that he was part of. And he thought, okay, maybe this will work for the wider church. And he got a few other churches on, and there's to this day a lot of them are still using it.
Wow.
And then coming up to recent history, we were approached as, hey, maybe you guys would like to partner with this. He's got to a point where it can't grow anymore. Let's bring on. We need a partner. So Brightech were approached. Andy and some of the directors there were approached to come and join along with it. And yeah, we took it on. We saw the vision of it, and we thought, man, this is great. And we've all of us in the team. Like Andy, myself, Sam, we've all got a history in the church. We've all got a real passion to see the church flourish and be protected, and to be the bride which Christ is coming back for. So we want to see it be glorious and protected. So we saw that right early on from when we started chatting to Sam, and we're like, oh, this is a really good thing and something we really wanted to get our teeth into and see go to the next level.
Yeah. I love it. I love the name. I think your heart is obvious, which is lovely. You want to serve the church, and you're using tech to do that and build community, which is great. And we know communication is essential. And church after church, this is an area where they really do struggle with. And and I know we've had a big drive on people kind of going into kind of comms roles, and the church starting to recognize it, and some investment into this area is so important. Andy, you talk about different aspects of it, being similar to WhatsApp, and obviously WhatsApp's got a strong reputation, isn't it, for kind of being a secure platform. It's one of their biggest things. What's the security like for you? Someone's going to say Joyned, okay, great, I see it, I capture the heart for it. What about security?
Yeah, so actually, probably something that trumps security is safety.
Yeah.
So we've kind of got three values as a company. So we've got openness, safety, and growth, and we can talk about the other two. But if we talk about safety first, we want to create a safe and compliant communication platform, and GDPR is obviously a huge deal. So we want to build a platform that's got sort of safety right in its core. And so we're kind of fundamentally different to WhatsApp. So with WhatsApp, they own their data. They are the data, or forget they're the data controller, or they're the data controller. Yes, they own their data, and that means they can provide it for free. So WhatsApp's free because they can use your data and use that to advertise to you. Whereas on a platform like ours, and it's be the same for Slack or for Teams or even for Zoom, the data becomes the owner of the data is the organization. So for Joyned, the church owns their own data. And that becomes really important from a compliance point of view, but it also becomes really important from a safeguarding point of view. And so we've built tools into Joyned that really enable safe communication. And that's really fundamental to us. So some examples of that would be we're building an activity log. So everything that happens across the platform is logged. So if someone creates a message and then deletes it, we log the fact that that's been deleted. Or if they create a message and edit it, that gets logged. People coming in and out of groups and things like that. So we're really looking to create a safe environment but for actually kind of all aspects of the church, of a community. So whether you're a kind of you've had podcasts about vulnerable adults. Whether you've got vulnerable adults or young people in your community, you want to keep them safe, but you also want to be bringing in people that have potentially got questionable pasts. You don't want to exclude either ends of the spectrum. You want to create an environment where people can safely communicate, and that's what we're trying to do ultimately.
I love that.
On the platform.
Yeah, it's good, Andy. And we chatted to the ICO before, and there was lots of questions and concerns raised from churches who are feeling like, these WhatsApp groups, they all pop up. Who owns them? So you've got a group leader who pops in that group up, starts a new one. Suddenly, people's addresses are being shared on there, and people's prayer items and quite personal information starts to become on this WhatsApp group. And I know people can put settings in there to delete and stuff like that, but we're still putting out information in that way. And I think lots of church administrators and managers are going, hang on a second, is anyone asking the question about WhatsApp and how to be compliant on that? Because when you get a data request, you suddenly start to feel like, okay, what do we do now? Do we have to include these WhatsApp groups that we're not actually administrators for? And there's data on there that we may need to delete. And what's our kind of retention policy and things like that? But it gets quite complicated in this, doesn't it? And Dan, you've obviously can see this making a difference for churches.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, a little bolt onto that is that we've got some churches that use Joyned. They've gone so far in to say that if you're using WhatsApp, you're not covered by our liability insurance, or those other platforms. Purely because they can't control the data. They can't get access to it. I mean, I think there were articles in the press a few years back around governments requesting data from these other companies, and it's just not possible for them to get it because of the type of encryption. So from that side, because it's owned by the organization. If they require it, they just ask and we give, because we don't own any of the data. We are the facilitator. So our job is to facilitate the data for the church. And I think it's such a big thing to know that the whole premise of the platform is to look after the church, is to look after the people, and also to look after the leaders of the church, because that's often a forgotten thing. In that, where does the liability sit? And it's if it, like the trustees, your elders, your pastors in churches, for us to have that dual relationship of the church looking after its leaders and the leaders looking after its church. That's a real great example of what the Bible speaks about with community, of what the community of believers in regards to there being no need among them, everyone caring for one another and seeing the church built up on that.
Yeah. That's brilliant, Dan. So Andy, talk us through some of the functionality then, because it's better than just WhatsApp, isn't it? With messages, you talk to me about how that would work for a church and a functionality.
Yeah, so it's probably best to talk through a bit of a flow of like an individual. So somebody that arrives, they start as a visitor, then they hopefully they become a member, and then ultimately maybe they become a leader. So if we talk through that flow, that might help us to talk through some of the features. So if you arrive as a visitor to a church using Joyned, we want to create a really wide open door for you to be able to come in and to be able to kind of experience and connect with the church community without having to offer lots of information or sign up to lots of things. So you know we can you can put a QR code up, people come in, scan, really simple sort of flow. We've really tried to work through the flow of someone then downloading Joyned. It's an app, it's on the App Store, on the Play Store, but when they do that, they're brought into whichever group the church wants, but like likely a kind of news, get connected type group. And they don't have to put any data in, they don't have to put their name or anything like that. But suddenly that visitor is connected and they're kind of getting some of the information. They can opt into some other groups, maybe like a men's ministry group or a Bible reading group or something like that. This kind of opt-in, really important, you know, from GDPR sort of point of view, so they opt in. So they come in and they start to get connected with your church community, which is brilliant. And over a period of time, obviously the hope is that the church does a great job and they feel connected to the church and they want to become a member, or they want to join a small group, or they want to join a serving group or something like that. And at that point, once they join a community that has got kind of conversational or chat turned on, because you can turn these things on and off, at that point they'd have to add their details, and we only take name and email address, and you can add your profile detail if you want to, profile photo if you want to. So once they become a member or get more connected, they can then contribute to the communication of the community. So they can chat, you know, you can talk about what's happening in your week if you're in a small group or something like that, or if you're serving on a Sunday, you can, you know, you're getting a set list from the band or you know, anything around the practicalities of a Sunday. At that point, it's also helpful to know that we actually integrate with Church Suite, which is brilliant, and Planning Centre as well, so that on a small group point of view, if I'm added on Church Suite into a small group, I'm automatically added into an associated Joyned group as well. So the integration is really easy, straightforward, kind of automatic. You don't need to worry about that. It also works both ways, so that Gavin, if you and I are in a small group and we invite Dan in, we can say, well, look, Dan, scan this QR code and Joyned, and he'll come into our group and we can chat with him. We can tell him about, you know, what's happening in our group. But he'll also be added back into Church Suite as a pending member. And for those people that are using Church Suite, they'll know what that is. But there's this kind of this idea of a two-way communication. So you come in as a visitor, you don't have to put lots of details in, but as soon as you're kind of member and involved in the community, you have to put a little bit of details in to be able to communicate. Ultimately, then when you become a leader, we can then set you up to be able to create groups. So up until this point, no, I wouldn't have been able to have created a group. I wouldn't have been able to initiate contact with anyone. I can't direct message anybody, and that's not within the platform. It's a kind of safeguarding thing that we can't communicate. I can't get your details. But at some point, we'd hope that someone would move into being a leader. At that point, maybe they're leading the worship team, or they're leading the kids teams. If they're leading the kids teams, they can, from their app, they don't have to do it we have a web tool as well, but they don't have to do it from their app. They can create new groups for their young people or for their serving teams. So we've got features for all kind of parts of that process, whether visitor, contributor, or member, or leader.
Yeah, I love that. It's really useful to kind of walk through that timeline, isn't it? Because you can essentially use Joyned just to gather news and information about the church. things that are happening, of ways that you could connect, and then you have this connection opportunity as you become a member and move into that next stage. And it is recognizing that there are these different stages that people do move through in churches, and then the fact that leaders then can create groups and communicate. Is there any restriction on the numbers of people that can join groups, or is this? I assume all of this has been thought through for a church context.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, we've got there's no restriction basically. We've got youth groups using it, and Dan's got some great stories about youth groups that I can say in a moment. So youth groups of like 20 or 30 people using it. Actually, if they're at 20 people, they're in our free tier, so they're not even paying. Through to kind of Hillsong using it, where thousands of people looking to scale it up to use across the whole of the UK. Gaz, New Day. I've been involved in New Day a lot through the years. We used it this year, or 2024, used it for all the volunteers. So 1,000+ volunteers brought in onto the system over like 2 days. And we're using it again this year. Over that period of time, 150,000 over 1 week, 150,000 messages were received. So it was really used, cool. Big scale. So yeah, there's no real restriction. You can use it for small groups. You can use it for large organizations. There's no limitation.
Yeah. So for administrator, this is a tool that's going to make your life easier than trying to send group emails and all those kind of things, is to add stuff to Joyned. And for our listeners know, I'm a director at UCAN, and you guys have been kind of giving us a trial of it with some of our groups and stuff, and people are loving it and enjoying it, and it's great. Dan, tell us a little bit about some things then with young people, because most churches will be like, oh no, I can't put a group of young people on a WhatsApp group together. And that sounds terrifying. Give me some good news stories on this then. How do churches use this in their youth?
Yeah, no, I can definitely do that. So there's loads of churches that are using it with their youth, but one specifically, I remember chatting to this youth leader that they actually saw Joyned at work at New Day, and they thought, oh, this will work really well for our youth. And they had been struggling with they have like youth soccer teams, or youth football teams, sorry. So they have all of these different places where there's the merging of youth and adults, which can create issues. And often they would be on WhatsApp groups, or they'd be on other platforms where they'd be communicating, and it just was a real nightmare because they'd have to log every single request that would come in. And then they started using Joyned after seeing it in New Day, and I think it was within one weekend they got their entire youth on the platform. But they had such a good rollout strategy on how to do it, getting all the leaders on board, the kids, getting them excited about it, getting the parents involved, and everyone could see how it would benefit them. That it wouldn't be like someone like a kid forgets his water bottle and sends a leader a WhatsApp, and then he has to go through the process of writing safeguarding reports. But the one story that really got me, and it kind of, I was sitting on this call, and it was a moment where I was like, oh, this is exactly why we need to do this. It was the leader was telling me that they hadn't had any youth baptisms for, I think it was like 12 months, something like that, over a year, something like that. And he just put one message on the open group saying, we're going to have some youth baptisms in the next 2 weeks. If you're interested, here's a link to this group we've set up if you want more information. I think it was in one message, they had seven young people that got baptized. And it was it's such a beautiful thing when you take out the obstacles of having to have that moment, especially with youth, where we all know that people care about what other people think sometimes. And that they can get caught up with that, and they wouldn't necessarily put their hand up, but they'll go and join a group to get information, and then they can step over the line to actually get baptized. Now that did something to me when I heard that story. It's like, oh man, Man, this is what it
It's
is.
all worthwhile. Yeah.
It is, and I think before coming onto this podcast, I listened to a few of your other podcasts, and you mentioned something about everything links to the gospel.
Yeah.
And it was that moment, like in that thing, I was like, oh wow, this is like really, I can see there's such value for the church in that.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's great, and I think if you start to think about it and stop and think about it, how much just comms work that you do behind the scenes in churches, whether it's to leaders and Bible study information or groups work or prayer requests, or there's just a whole lot of comms of what to bring with you on this trip, and all of that stuff, like a kind of residential weekend away. I can imagine all these things that this product and the software could really, really serve. Andy, just thinking about a church manager who's thinking, right, I'm interested in kind of adopting something nice. How much tech do I need to know and understand to jump on board into something like this? Like, what do I need to know?
You don't need to know very much.
Okay.
You go to our website, joynedapp.com. It's joined with a Y, so JOYNED app.com. And there's a button there, you just click and it's free trial. But you don't need to know an awful lot. We walk you through the process. There's a kind of web app, so an administration tool that's on the website. You scan the QR code, you then get it on your phone. It's really for most users of the tool, it feels like WhatsApp or iMessage or kind of a chat tool that we're all familiar with. So the bar is really low from a kind of like knowledge of tech kind of basis. So we have young people that are obviously very switched on to technology, through to a whole older kind of demographic that are very, very happy to use it. One thing that's really important to point out, probably for the church administrators will be particularly sort of interested in, is that we've tried to create the tool so we distribute the administration of it down to leaders. So rather than have one person kind of at the top having to set stuff up, having to move people in and out, having to send out invites and all that kind of stuff, which is okay for a youth group or for a smaller church or something like that. As soon as you get at 2A size, it is much more efficient and better if you can give the administration to your leaders. So we've talked about a youth leader or a worship pastor or something like that. Actually, we have a way of breaking down the organization so that you give responsibility to those leaders, and they do it all. The church suite and planning center kind of integrations, you would do that at a kind of an admin level. But that's set it up once and it does it.
Works,
you don't have to do it do anything beyond that. And if someone's really kind of worried about that kind of integration, we're jumping on calls with churches all the time to kind of just walk them through it and essentially do it with them, because if it's set it up once, we can just do it with them and then it's done. They don't have to think about it. So yes, it's a technology platform, but hopefully we've created something and we'll continue to iterate something that is really just easy to manage.
No, that's great, isn't it? And so people can sign up at your website for a free trial and get that underway. And this is a great opportunity, isn't it, to do some, to think about who could we test this with in the church? Who could get on board with that? And maybe thinking through that a little bit before you click the sign up and going, okay, if we were to integrate this and to implement this in our church, do we try this as a group of elders maybe, or a group of pastors or a staff team? Or something like that, and let's give this a shot. And I know at UCAN we've been using it as a UCAN board, and prompts from emails and meetings of things that need doing again, or just little personal updates or things for prayer, and it's great, and it works really, really well. So guys, this is a good tool that's going to serve the church. So you're all over it. Is there anything else that we should, that would be helpful to our listeners to hear who want to take the next step?
Oh, that's a great question. No, I mean, Dan might be able to speak more to this. I think it's important for the church to really kind of understand why they might want to do it. And go, yes, okay, we want to do it from a GDPR point of view. We want to do it from a safeguarding point of view. We want to do it simply because we want to improve communications within the church.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to do that tick box as a church leadership or as a church administrator. And then you're right. The next step is to go, actually, we need to try this in a group and a subset. And so trying to work out, who it is that you should try to, what subset of your church you should trial it with. So from a pricing point of view, it's free up to 30 or 29 users anyway. So if you're using it with a subset, you can use it indefinitely. If you're just using it with your leaders or just a small part of your small youth group or something, you can use it indefinitely for free. But we also do a kind of unlimited 30-day trial as well. So
and so the price point just goes up based on the sort of category, the size of the church, and I guess as you grow with it, the cost of it grows. And we all understand these things. Everything is a subscription based now, isn't it? In all the tech we're using in churches, and so people need to invest some money into it. And you're right, communication is so important. And if your communication is so poor in the church, then this is again something you really should go away and consider if this is something that you can implement. Because not all churches have Church Suite. Not all churches have an app or have developed their own technology, in this area. So this is a big plug, isn't it, for churches who may not have loads of experience. It's a platform that they can use straight away, that will make it, a safe place, a compliant place, and a secure place for church communities to access each other and do comms and life and everything else together. It's exciting. Yeah. Dan, anything else that you would add?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there when you were speaking about it can work for small churches. It can, like, if you they may not have Church Suite, it will work for them. But even if they grow, they've got they use every single module on Church Suite. It can still work for them in a great way, be really effective. So it's really is a tool that works for everyone. It's not like we've seen through the different sectors that we're working with, from education to right through to the church. It's like there are lots of boxes that need to get ticked. And it's very easy sometimes to miss a box thinking, oh, I'll get to that later. But something like Joyned makes it really, really easy for you just to tick the basics of safety and compliance.
Yeah, that's great. And you were saying about the Andy, you were saying about the log, and as a church administrator, a log, they get excited about logs. But if you need to go back, so we talk about GDPR and being able to deal with a data request and having to go back over something. Where are the logs easy to access, and is there a certain time and date that you keep those for?
So this is actively being worked on at the moment. Something we're building at the moment as a response, actually, from conversations that we've had, particularly with youth groups, but actually with churches. So the log will ultimately be available to the organization on the front end, so you could go and have a look at it. In the short term, you would just contact us and say, hey guys, can you provide me with a download of the log, or can you search the log for X or Y? So for as long as you're using the platform, we will be keeping that log. And we don't for as long as you're using the platform, we will keep a message history as well. So it's work in progress, but it's something that I think that churches will be particularly interested in. Like you say, from a sort of safeguarding and history point of view.
I think that's right, isn't it? And I mean, when church is great and everything's fine, it's wonderful, isn't it? When you get a disgruntled member or somebody leaves, or and you've got to act fairly quickly, things like taking people off groups and all of that. I assume all of those controls are with the user, the main administrator, and in the platform. So these things do happen, don't they? And as much as we don't want to cut people out of community, we don't want these places to be a rant of all the things that the church could do differently and better, and that can be a challenge. If you're a pastor listening to this, any kind of final words of encouragement for them to pick this up? They may not be thinking about admin, they may not be thinking about communication, but just at that kind of role.
Give
me your best sales pitch, Andy.
I'm not very good at the sales side of things. What I will refer to is a good friend of ours, a guy called Graham Pyman. Do you know? I don't know if you know Graham.
I don't know if I know him. No.
He's a pastor up in Derby. He's using it with a church, I'm gonna guess, of 100 to 200 kind of people.
Okay.
And one of the things that he really loves is being able to jump from his phone and sort of click record and send a video message to his whole church, from his phone. And hopefully he doesn't abuse that too much. I'm sure he doesn't. But one of the things he's just said that he really appreciates is that he can, without having to dive into any kind of complicated back ends or having to do anything more difficult from his laptop, he can just, from his phone, he can send a message to the whole church community. And so if you're a pastor and you feel like, I just really struggle to get messages out quickly or directly from me, I have to involve an administrator or somebody else, then this will give you a platform to do this. With great power comes great responsibility, but it does give you the power to be able to do that.
Andy, that is a brilliant answer, because there's going to be some pastors who are listening to this going, I don't have an administrator, I don't have anyone who can get in touch, try the free trial, deal with all of that. But you're right, as soon as this is set up, a small amount of time invested into this could have significant difference in a leader serving its congregation, putting out little devotions, little reminders, little questions, all those things that that take so much time. I hate WhatsApps, and I didn't realize the other day that I'd archived one, and there was all these important messages that were coming through, but I completely just turned it off somehow without even realizing. So this is great and live. So if you would love to find out a bit more, please check out the Joyned website. Please have a look at it as a free trial. This is people who love the church, who love the gospel, who want to serve and to make community in our churches. And I love the heart and what you guys are doing. So please check out them. If you've got any questions for us or joined and you want us to connect you guys, you can go direct. But if you'd like to come through us, it's questions@thechurchoffice.co.uk. We would love to connect you and serve you in that way if we can. If you're listening to the podcast, then please check out, I think I was counting today, I've got something like 96 podcasts, which is like, how did that happen? So there's something hopefully on the church office for everyone, and we encourage you to go and have a look at it and see if you can find something on there that would bless you and your church. Well, guys, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Thank you for sharing your product. It's a joy to meet you both and to hear about what you guys are doing.
Thanks so much, Gavin.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having us.
Great. Right. Thank you, everyone, for listening to the podcast, and we'll see you next time.